I grew up in Melbourne, Florida, which it is a beach town, kind of like this. My dad is a funeral director. So I grew up in the funeral home, which has lots of interesting stories. Some are more appropriate than others, and I can tell you some of them at a later date. My mom is now a retired school teacher, but part of being in the funeral home industry is that your family goes to church. And it's not like a faith thing, it's more like we have our face in the community so that people know us thing. And so my family went to church growing up from the ages of 1 to 10. And then when we were 10 years old, my family left the church. And they didn't tell me why until I was 16. And so I'm the age that most of y'all are right now. And my parents left the church. They didn't tell me why. All of a sudden, we're home on Sunday morning. We don't go to Wednesday night anything. And what am I doing with my life? And I'm 10. So it ended up that the reason that we left the church was that business. There's like a business deal, having your face in the community, that worked really well for a while, and then it didn't work so well. And the pastor started recommending people to a different funeral home, and started slandering my dad. And so my parents left the church. We never went back. My parents to this day are not Christians, and there are times where I think they're getting close, and there's times where I think they're not, and it's really sad. And you guys will hear me talk a lot about them if I'm here. But so 10 years old, don't know what I'm doing with my life. 12 years old, I go to junior high, and when I'm at junior high, I meet a group of friends who convince me wholeheartedly that the gospel is not real, that Jesus is an absolute sham, and that the church is a bunch of hypocrites. It's a place where people go to medicate their souls. And I bought it hand over foot and believed it. It fit my story at that point. I'm like, I respect my parents, love them, they wouldn't make a bad decision, and so, of course, the church that they left, it's not real. And so I became an atheist for 6 years. And not just like one of those people who's kind of like, I just don't believe in the whole Christianity thing. No, I was like aggressive, guys. Like, I would tell you if you came to me and you were like, I'm a Christian, I would be like, you're stupid. Like go home. But 6 years of my life spent in that kind of a world. Dark days, went through a lot of depression, just a lot of hopelessness about the world. Was addicted to grades, was addicted to everything that the world had to offer. The praise and approval of my peers was huge. And then when I was 18, a friend invited me to our youth group. And I was there for a few weeks, and the youth pastor came up to me and he's like, hey, I've been noticing you've been coming around a little bit, haven't gotten to meet you yet, what's your name, what's your story? And I was like, Aaron, my name's Chris, and I'm not a Christian, and I don't intend on being a Christian. I'm just here to kind of like check things out. I'm here to make sure that I think you guys are hypocrites. I'm here just to make sure that I'm right, kind of a thing. So I went, I kept going, because Aaron looked me straight in the face and he said, cool, keep coming. Like, we're going to love you anyway. And I was like, are you serious? Because I just told you that I don't like you. And you told me to keep coming and that you're going to love me despite the fact that I don't like you. And that was just so foreign to me. Like, I had no idea what was going on. So I kept going, and Aaron just kept building and pouring into my life. He would come out to track meets and soccer games, and he'd come have lunch with me at school. And I was just bewildered, like, what's this dude doing? But he was pursuing me, and he was going after me hard. And so that started in August. By October, I was in his office, and I was like, okay, Aaron, you've got to tell me what this is about. Because if what you believe causes you to act like this towards me, I need to know what it is. And so right there, he told me the gospel. And it took me a while to believe it. I had built up wall after wall after wall of just disbelief. And it took a long time to break that down. And still to this day, I'm 27, I still struggle with unbelief. I just do. And so, but over time, the Lord just gently worked on me, and I came to faith my senior year in high school. So I'm 27 now, been walking with the Lord for less than 10 years, which is quite intimidating when I walk into a room like this, because I know there's people in this room who have been walking with the Lord for much longer than me and are much younger than me. So that is a humbling experience, but a good one. Since I've been a Christian, I have walked anything but a straight path. My first few years, it was funny, I was actually like better behaved before I was a Christian, and then after I became a Christian, all of a sudden like my life fell apart. But my first few years as a Christian, spent time addicted to drugs and alcohol, so that's been a huge part of my story. I've seen the Lord fight through that and pursue me in the process and get through that. So that's still something I have to be on the lookout for. And there's just loads of other struggles that I've dealt with that I would be more than happy to talk to you about at any point. I'm very open about what the Lord's done in my life. So that's a little bit of my background, just to let you know where I'm coming from. And we're going to get into Genesis 1 today, which is super exciting. I have a few ground rules for when I teach, though. Just a few. Number one is that we're going to have fun. Number two is that I love conversation. Okay, I actually like it when you guys talk. Like, I think sometimes when you get into like a class setting, you know, it's like, oh, I just have to have the right answer. Let's throw that out the window this morning, okay? Because in a lot of ways, I don't even know the right answers. So let's just answer without fear, okay? Because you might be right, and I might be wrong. I'm not really sure. So we're just going to start off with like a little brain teaser that we'll come back to at the end of the class. So I've got two song lyrics up here that are from a band. Anybody listen to Sleeping at Last? No? Am I still the only cool person? Okay. All right. I've done this lesson 3 times now, and nobody has listened to Sleeping at Last. So I still am the coolest. So 2 song lyrics right here. What I want you to do is I want you to turn to the person who's sitting beside you. Real quick, just say hi to them. Hi. If you don't know them, introduce yourself. How you doing? Okay. Good morning. I want you to have like a 60-second. Hey guys, come back real quick. Real quick. I want you to have like a 60-second conversation about these 2 song lyrics. I want you to tell each other which one is right, which one is wrong, or are both right, or are both wrong. And there's not a right answer. So just talk for 1 minute about that.
So what do you think? I have to talk with John, but first one is you think both good or wrong? So you're answering potatoes?
Good. Just put the projector in.
What do you think? The bottom one I think is right, but I don't think it's wrong.
Control that.
The bottom one underneath. They're eating the okay, there's only guys that would just know This would be so good.
New translations available. Yeah.
All right. Come on back. All right, hold that thought for like 30 minutes. Okay? We're not going to talk about it right now. We're going to talk about it later. Okay? 30 minutes, we're going to hold that. All right, Genesis 1. What do you guys know about Genesis 1 already? God created the world. Yes.
God created everything in the world at the same time.
At the same time.
Well,
Okay.
7 days.
7 days, okay?
God created everything.
God created everything.
God
Yep.
created us in His image.
Huh?
God created us in His image.
He created us in His image, yep. Anything else? Yes.
It shows God's power in the verses.
Yeah. Shows God's power in the verses. Okay. who knows what book of the Bible was actually written before Genesis?
Job.
Okay, well that's one answer. What's the book that comes right after Genesis?
Exodus.
Exodus. Okay, so I'm going to blow y'all's mind here for just a second, and then we're going to get another answer out of you. Okay, so the Exodus happened, which events of the Exodus, Israel, the people of God, they leave Egypt, right? They go, they're camped at Mount Sinai. Okay, all this bad stuff happens to them. Okay, Pharaoh oppresses them. On the way to Mount Sinai, they go through all different sorts of struggles. Okay, they're wondering, why is the world so messed up? Why did Pharaoh do all those evil things to us? And why did God call us out of that situation? Why did we have to walk through the wilderness? And why are we encamped at Mount Sinai right now? So Moses wrote Genesis to explain why. Now what do you think about Genesis 1? How does that change that? Okay, so we said it shows that God's powerful, but why would Moses want Israel to understand that God was powerful at that point?
You can pull them out.
Yeah,
To know that they're not alone. He can help them.
absolutely. Absolutely. What else?
So they can know that, like, he made them and designed them to go through this, and he's working with them because he is so powerful and strong.
Yeah. Like they could have confidence. Yeah. Or if they asked themselves, why is the world so messed up? They'd have an answer, right? Because the world wasn't always so messed up, right? Genesis 1, Garden of Eden, God's making everything is good. Genesis 3 happens. What happens in Genesis 3?
The fall.
The fall. Okay? So all of a sudden they have an answer for why things are so messed up. And you can see, Genesis 1 is important to our text, to us, because look at that top graphic right there. Genesis 1 and 2, this is kind of like an overview, like big picture of the Bible. Okay? It's not highly detailed. There are definitely more detailed things than this. But Genesis 1 and 2, it comes before the fall. Then there's Genesis 3, which is the rebellion. I think that's maybe a better name for it. It's actually what happened. We actually rebelled. We didn't fall off a cliff. Genesis 3, and then Genesis 3 through Revelation 20 is the effects of the fall. And so these people of the Exodus, they're saying, oh my gosh, all of a sudden we're experiencing the effects of the fall, but we serve a God who is a Genesis 1 God, who created everything and is powerful over everything, who made us in his image. Okay, so get this, he made us in his image, but then he called us, Israel, out of all the earth to be his people. Woo. All of a sudden, the paradigm kind of shifts a little bit for them. Okay? We're not these oppressed people. We're people who are oppressed yet have hope. And then Revelation 21 and 22 is the reversal of that rebellion. So we're gonna just read the text with that introduction. We're gonna read the text. You guys can turn to Genesis 1 with me. And here's the thing. I'm gonna kind of divide the text up amongst you guys who do have Bibles to kind of read. But here's what I don't want is